Fifth grade, Chapter 6, Lesson 4, Common Denominators and Equivalent Fractions. Unlock the problem. Sarah planted 2 one-acre gardens. One had 3 sections of flowers, another had 4 sections of flowers. She plans to divide both gardens into more sections so they have the same number of equal-sized sections. How many sections will each garden have? You can use a common denominator or a common multiple of 2 or more denominators to write fractions that name the same part of a whole. Multiply the denominators. So we're going to divide each one of those 3 sections so we can get a total of 12 sections. So how many sections would we have to break each section into?
12.
Well, we need 12, so we would break each of the sections into 4s. Okay, then over here we have 4s, but we need to have 12 sections. So how many would we have to break each one of those into? Thirds. So we said our common denominator was what, guys? 12. And then how did I get from 3 to 12? Times 4. So what I do on the bottom, I also have to do on the top. 1 times 4 is, how did I get from 4 to 12? Times 3. So what I did on the bottom, I also have to do on the, so 1 times 3 is 3. And then we said our common denominator was 12. So both gardens will have how many sections? 12 sections. Another way, use a list. Make a list of the first 8 non-zero multiples of 3 and 4. So they went ahead and wrote 3, 6. What comes next? 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, and 24. Multiples of 4. So 4, 8,
12, 16, 20, 24, 48, 32.
So circle the common multiples. So what are the common multiples? We have 12, right? Any other common multiples?
24.
24. And we always want to use the least common multiple first, right? So then we don't get those big fractions and then have to try and deal with that. So use one of the common multiples as a common denominator to write equivalent fractions. And then we went ahead and we said 12, right? And then that would be 4 12ths, right? And this would be 3 12ths. So both gardens can have 12 sections or 24 sections. If we would have done 24, how do you get from 3 to 24? Times 8. So 1 times 8 is, and then on this one, if we would add 24, how do you get from 4 to 24? Times 6. So 1 times 6 is 6. Least common denominator. Find the least common denominator of 2 or more fractions by finding the least common multiple or 2 or more numbers. Example, use the least common denominator. Find the least common denominator at 3/4 and 1/6. Use the common denominator to write an equivalent fraction for each fraction. List non-zero multiples of the denominators. Find the least common multiple. So multiples of 4 are 4,
8, 12,
8, 12,
16, 20, 24, 28.
Okay, can we go ahead and stop there for a second?
Yeah.
All right, so what's the multiples of 6?
6, 12,
18, 24, 30. Okay, so what are my common multiples, guys?
12,
12 and
24,
24. So the least common denominator of 3/4 and 1/6 is
12,
12. Using the least common denominator, write an equivalent fraction. So we said 12. So in order to get from 4 to 12, you multiply by 3. And so whatever I do on the bottom, I also do on the top. So 3 times 3 is 9. Then to get from 6 to 12, we multiplied by
2,
2. So 6 times 2 got us 12. What we do on the bottom, we also do on the top. So 1 times 2 is 2. 3/4 can be written as
9/12,
9/12. And 1/6 can be written as
2/12,
2/12. Share and show. Find a common denominator of 1/6 and 1/9. Rewrite the pair of fractions using the common denominator. Multiply the denominators. The common denominator of 1/6 and 1/9 is 6 times 9?
54,
54. But what would be the least common multiple? 18. So the least common denominator would actually be 18. So rewrite the pair of fractions using the common denominator. So we want to actually use 18, right guys? How did I get from 6 to 18?
times 3,
Times 3. So what I do on the bottom, I also have to do on the top. So 1 times 3 is
3,
3. Is that our new denominator with 18? How did I get from 9 to 18?
times 2,
Times 2. So what I do on the bottom, I also do on the top. So 1 times 2 is
2,
2. So our new fractions are 3/18 and
2/18,
2/18. Use a common denominator to write an equivalent fraction for each fraction. So 1/3 and 1/5. What is going to be our least common denominator?
15,
15. And then I need to show a little bit of work. So I need 1/3 equals something over 15. How did I get from 3 to 15?
times 5,
Times 5. So what I do on the bottom, I also have to do on the top. So 1 times 5 is 5. So the answer is 5/15. My other fraction was 1/5. And then we said our new denominator was 15. How do I get from 5 to 15? Times 3. So what I do on the bottom, I also have to do on the top. So 1 times 3 is, so 5/15 and 3/15. 2/3 and 5/9. What's their common denominator? 9. Do I have to change both of them? No. Okay. So my new common denominator is 9. And then, so I'm going to change the first one. So 2/3 equals something over 9. How did I get from 3 to 9?
times 3,
Times 3. So what I do on the bottom, I also have to do on the top. So 2 times 3 is
9, oh wait, 6,
6. So 6/9. And then do I have to change 5/9? No, because it has the right denominator. So I can just rewrite 5/9. 2/9 and 1/15. What is going to be my common denominator for that? This one's a little more tricky. 45. Okay. So, my work, 2/9 equals something over 45. How did I get from 9 to 45, guys?
times 5,
Times 5. So what I do on the bottom, I also have to do on the top. So 2 times 5 is 10. So 10 45th. And then 1/15 equals something over 45. How did I get from 15 to 45? Times 3. So what I do on the bottom, I also have to do on the top. So 1 times 3 is 3. So 3 45th, right? Use the least common denominator to write an equivalent fraction for each fraction. So 1/4 and 3/8. What would be our least common denominator?
8.
8. Do we have to change both of them?
No.
No. So 1/4 equals something over 8. How did I get from 4 to 8? Times 2. So what I do on the bottom, I also have to do on the top. So 1 times 2 is 2. So 2/8 is my new fraction, and then do I need to change 3/8?
No.
No. Okay, 11/12 and 5/8. What's my least common denominator? What? 24. So I'm going to go from 11/12 to something over 24. How did I get from 12 to 24? Times 2. So what I do on the bottom, I also have to do on the top. So 11 times 2 is
22.
22. So 22 over 24. And then I have 5/8 equals something over 24. How did I get from 8 to 24?
Times 3.
Times 3. So I do on the bottom, I also have to do on the top. So 5 times 3 is
15.
so 15/24. 4/5 and 1/6. What is our least common denominator?
30.
30. So do I have to change both of them?
Yes.
So I have 4/5 equals something over 30. How did I get from 5 to 30?
Times 6.
Times 6. So what I do on the bottom, I also do on the top. So 4 times 6 is
24.
24. So 24/30. And then 1/6 equals something over 30. How did I get from 6 to 30? Times 5. So what I do on the bottom, I also have to do on the top. So 1 times 5 is 5. So 5/30. On your own, use the common denominator to write an equivalent fraction for each fraction. So 3/5 and 1/4. What's our common denominator? 20. So do we have to change both?
Yes.
So 3/5 equals something over 20. How did I get from 5 to 20?
Times 4.
Times 4. I do on the bottom, I also do on the top. 3 times 4 is
12.
12. So 12/20. And then 1/4 equals something over 20. How did I get from 4 to 20? Times 5. So 1 times 5 is 5, right? So 5/20. 5/8 and 1/5. What's my common denominator? 40. So do I have to change both? So 5/8 equals something over 40. How did I get from 8 to 40? By 5. So what I do on the bottom, I also have to do on the top. So 5 times 5 is 25. And then I have to change 1/5. My new denominator is 40. How did I get from 5 to 40? Times 8. What I do on the bottom, I also have to do on the top. So 1 times 8 is?
8.
My answer is 8/40. 1/12 and 1/2. You could do 24, but is there a 12? Do we have to change both in this case?
No.
No. So we can just rewrite 1/12 and circle it, right? And then 1/2 equals something over 12. How did I get from 2 to 12?
Times 6.
Times 6. What I do on the bottom, I also have to do on the top. So 1 times 6 is?
6/12.
My answer is 6/12.